The compressors were already humming when I slid the clipboard back onto its hook and reached for drawer 4. That sound is the first thing I listen for every night. Not voices, not footsteps. The compressors. A steady, low mechanical hum means the system is balanced. Temperature holding, power stable. No alarms buried in the noise. In our system, an empty drawer is not a mistake. It is a promise. It means no one has died in my district for the last few hours. It means the intake board is clean. It means paperwork is caught up. It means I can sit in the break room and drink coffee that still tastes warm instead of burnt. I checked the digital panel again before touching the handle. 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Green indicator, no alerts. Drawer 4 was logged empty at the start of my shift. 8 p.m., empty. 10 p.m., empty. Midnight, still empty. Empty drawers are how we prove the system is still working. I pulled the handle with 2 fingers like I always do. No rush, no hesitation, muscle memory. The seal released without resistance. The sound was wrong. Not loud, not sharp, just dampened. Like opening a door in a pressurized room where the air doesn't want to move. I stopped with the drawer halfway out and listened. The compressors kept humming. Same pitch, same rhythm, no mechanical change. That told me the cooler hadn't failed. I've worked in this city morgue for 8 years. I know the difference between intake silence and post-procedure silence. This was the second kind. People who work near the dead learn patterns faster than most people learn names. The body was centered on the tray, not slumped, not rotated. The sheet was folded with care corners tucked under the shoulder line. That alone told me something had already been done here. I didn't say the word in my head yet. You always look first. Touching makes it real. I checked the toe. No tag. I checked the wrist. No temporary band. No hospital bracelet. I leaned in closer and scanned the sternum and neck for access points. Clean, precise, closed. No Y incision. No autopsy cut. No trauma markers. You don't perform post-mortem procedures without paperwork. Ever. I reached back to the wall and pulled the intake log again. Drawer 4. Status empty. Timestamp verified. Initials verified. Mine were not there. The hum from the compressors stayed steady. That bothered me more than if it had changed. There was no smell of decomposition, no sourness, no iron, no sweetness. None of the things you expect when a body has been waiting. Instead, there was a faint chemical sterility. High-grade, clinical. The kind you smell in surgical prep rooms. The kind that dries your nose if you stand too close for too long. It did not belong here. The skin looked conditioned. Fingernails trimmed evenly. Cuticles pushed back. This wasn't how unclaimed bodies arrive. I brought the exam light down. The shadows shifted across the chest and neck. I leaned in and examined the stitching. Perfect spacing. No tearing, no irregular tension. No rushed knots. It looked like embalming. Embalming fluid is cold. It replaces blood and equalizes body temperature with the room almost immediately. You feel it the second you make contact. I hesitated. The hum of the compressors seemed louder, or maybe I was listening harder. I flexed my fingers and pulled on a fresh glove. The latex snapped once. Sharp, final. I placed my hand on the forearm. Shock. Not from the cold, from the heat, not fever heat, not sweat, living warmth. The kind your brain recognizes before it understands. For a split second, my fingers reported something my mind refused to confirm. I pulled my hand back immediately. Not fast, controlled, the way you do when you think you might be wrong. Bodies do not stay warm in 37 degrees Fahrenheit. That is a biological expectation you can set your watch by. My mind ran through the checklist automatically. Cooler failure number green indicator, hallucination. I touched my own forehead. Cool. Steady pulse, stress response, possible. Heat is not subjective. There was only one conclusion. They weren't preserving the dead. They were preserving the fresh. The compressors dipped for half a second and returned to baseline. I stepped back and forced myself to check the obvious explanations. No toe tag could mean intake error. No paperwork could mean a county backlog. New hires misfile things. Servers lag. Systems go down. These things happen. I checked the transport board. No delivery scheduled in the last 12 hours. I checked the timestamps manually. Everything aligned. Nothing overlapped. Drawer 4 should have been empty. I closed the drawer slowly and reseated the latch until it clicked. The sound was too soft. As I stepped back, I noticed something on the metal lip of the drawer, half hidden behind a faded maintenance sticker. A strip of old tape, yellowed at the edges, pencil writing, block letters, Unit 7 ready. We do not label empty drawers. We also don't label people as units. I logged the observation as a visual discrepancy because that is what the procedure requires. Observation before interpretation. Profession before emotion. My hand shook once as I wrote. I corrected it and finished the line. The hum stayed steady as I walked away. I tried to focus on the paperwork. Chain of custody verification. Cooler temperature checks at 15-minute intervals. Saline ratios logged for the autopsy suite next door. My eyes kept drifting back to the hallway that led to drawer 4. Everything passed. Everything aligned. At the top of the hour, I went back. Drawer 4 was empty. The sheet was gone. The body was gone. The tape was still there. I pulled the log again. Drawer 4 now showed a completed intake from 2 weeks earlier. Signed, initialed, by me. I was on vacation 2 weeks ago. I counted to 30, then 60. The green light stayed green. The compressors hummed. Nothing changed. In 8 years, the system had never lied to me. Standing there, reading my own signature dated from a day I was 2,000 miles away, I understood something. The system wasn't broken. It was working exactly as designed. The only thing logically impossible in that room was me. I closed the drawer. The compressors kept humming. For the first time, they didn't sound steady. They sounded like they were waiting. The tape from drawer 4 was still in my pocket when I logged in for the next shift. The compressors were humming the same steady note as the night before. 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Green indicators across the panel. No alerts. The corridor lights washed everything in that flat hospital color that makes skin look unhealthy even when it isn't. I followed procedure because procedure is the only thing that still makes sense when everything else doesn't. Chain of custody clipboard first. Keys accounted for. Y-tube set. Padlock key. Biohazard cabinet key. I initialed the line and dated it. Then I went straight to drawer 4. It was empty. No sheet, no body, no condensation streaks, no smear that suggested something had been dragged out in a hurry. The tray was clean enough to reflect the fluorescent strip above it. The faded tape was still there. Unit 7 ready. I didn't touch it. I checked the drawer label. I checked the stamped number on the steel. I checked the cooler map taped to the inside of the door. Everything matched. Drawer 4 was exactly where it had always been. Then I did what I should have done first. I pulled the log. Drawer 4. Status occupied. Intake completed. 2 weeks earlier. Timestamp verified. Initials verified. Signature mine. I read it again, slower. Not because I thought it would change, but because my brain needed time to accept it wouldn't. I was on vacation 2 weeks ago. My breath hitched once. I kept my face still. The compressors kept humming. The green lights stayed green. The system insisted everything was normal. I logged into the county portal and pulled my schedule history. Approved leave. Payroll confirmed. No clock-ins. No overtime adjustments. Then I checked badge access records. No scans. No entries. I had not been in this building during that week. I checked cooler access logs. Drawer 4 had been opened under my credentials. Same date, same hour, same door. That is an administrative impossibility you cannot explain with equipment failure. Credentials don't walk around without you. People who work near the dead learn not to argue with paperwork. Paper always wins. I tried to do this the correct way. I pulled the intake binder we call the book from under the desk. It was heavy and smudged corners soft from years of hands that didn't wash enough. It exists for the same reason this place exists. When systems fail, ink doesn't. Drawer 4 had a handwritten entry matching the digital one. Same date, same time, same signature. My signature. It even had the little tail I add when my pen drags. The shared pain point in this job is simple. The body is supposed to follow the paperwork, not the other way around. I stood there with my pen hovering over a blank line. I hesitated. I could call my supervisor. I could call IT. I could file an incident report. Or I could confirm the physical reality first. I walked to the secondary storage room marked B on the cooler map. That room smells older, like bleach and damp concrete. The rolling racks squeal there because no one oils them. I unlocked the door and counted racks the way we're taught. Top to bottom, left to right, no shortcuts. Every Jane Doe gets a place even if no one remembers her name. The second body was on the lower rack. Same conditioning. Same careful stitching. Same absence of tags. No hospital band. No property bag zip-tied to the wrist. No chain bag at the ankle. I checked the rack label and shelf number. I checked the temperature probe mounted on the wall. 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Stable. Green. I pulled the paper property sheet from the empty hook anyway. It was blank. I ran the barcode scanner over the rack label. Nothing came back. I ran it over the tag slot where a tag should have been. It beeped like it always does. That beep is just the scanner saying it's alive. It had nothing to read. No one believes us when we say the system can erase a body without erasing the space. Back at the desk, I pulled monthly intake reports going back 6 months. I didn't skim. I counted 1 or 2 unclaimed bodies per month. All Jane does, all uninsured, all coded as county responsibility. Every trail ended the same way. Transfer, disposal, release, clean words. No matching paperwork, no matching signatures, no transport IDs. It wasn't random. It was scheduled. I printed the list and folded it into thirds. My jaw clenched hard enough to ache. That was the first time I felt anger, and I forced it down. Anger makes you sloppy. Sloppy gets written up. I did routine work because routine keeps you invisible. Cooler temperature checks every 15 minutes. Chain of custody verification for the autopsy suite next door. Saline ratios logged for tissue recovery kits. 2 parts water to 1 part concentrate. My eyes kept drifting back to the hallway that led to drawer 4. The hum followed me the whole time. At home, I tried to reset. Shower, scrub under my nails, eat something that wasn't vending machine sugar. I stood in front of the refrigerator and stared. Everything inside was sorted alphabetically. Apples, butter, cheese, eggs, greens, milk, yogurt. I never organized like that. I checked the locks. Deadbolt engaged. Window latches painted shut since the early 90s. No pry marks, no broken frames. Nobody broke in. They just entered. Like they had a key. Like they owned the place. The next morning, I tried to do this the right way. I called the state health department. The woman who answered sounded tired but efficient. "We take allegations like this very seriously," she said. A case number was assigned. An inspector was scheduled within 72 hours. For 2 days I waited. I checked my email every hour. No confirmation, no follow-up. On the third day, my supervisor mentioned it casually while signing off a supply request. "Health inspector came by yesterday," he said. "Gave us a perfect score. You should have seen it. I never received the appointment notice. When I checked the case number online, it showed status closed. No violations found." Inspector notes facility exemplary. Staff cooperation excellent. My email still showed the original complaint. The timestamp matched. The attachment was there. The system showed no record of it ever being sent. I came in early that night and stayed late. Not because I was brave, because I didn't know how to stop. I waited until the supervisor's office light went dark. Then I did the smallest wrong thing possible. I opened his door and sat at his terminal. County machines time out fast. 2 minutes, sometimes less. But his terminal was still awake. The cursor blinked like it was expecting me. I pulled out my phone and started photographing intake pages. Not the files. Screenshots can be deleted remotely. Photos at least leave something behind. Footsteps in the corridor. Slow, unhurried. I slid the phone into my pocket and stepped into the walk-in freezer. The latch caught with a soft click. My breath fogged the air immediately. The compressors sounded different in there. Louder, closer, like they were inside my ribs. Through the wall, I heard my supervisor's voice. Flat, even. "Process the error," he said. "Asset 404 is compromised." A pause, keyboard taps. "Reclassify as biological waste." Asset, not body. I didn't move until the hallway went quiet again. Back in the office, I kept my motions routine. I reseated the chair, adjusted the monitor, wiped a smudge off the mouse. Then I searched for what he had called it. Asset. Nothing in standard directories. Nothing in intake software. Nothing in disposal folders. Then I saw a hidden path in the file explorer. Asset management. Inside were folders labeled with numbers, not names. 402, 403, 404. Each file opened like a product sheet. Age range, sex, tissue compatibility markers, blood type coded, dental condition, skin grade. Harvestable fields checked yes or no. Asset 402, harvestable grade A. Asset 403, rejected incinerate. Asset 404, compromised reclassify as biological waste. My frustration flared once sharp and hot, and I swallowed it. I scrolled. Pre-order list, client numbers, requested markers, delivery windows listed in hours, notes written like warehouse instructions, no explanation, no signatures, just assumptions. This wasn't corpse disposal. This was inventory. I copied 3 screenshots onto a blank USB and labeled it Temperature Logs October. Then I made 2 more copies. One in my jacket pocket, one in my locker. A third went into my glove compartment when I left. I had never hidden evidence before. I had never been evidence before. At the bottom of the pre-order list, one entry was flagged. No client number, an employee badge code. Mine. Status pending. Delivery window 8 p.m. shift start. I closed the folder. The compressors hummed. I walked back to the cooler because that is where the system always looks normal. Drawer 4 sat in its row clean and silent. The faded tape still clung to the lip. Unit 7 ready. It finally made sense. I am Unit 7, and my drawer is waiting. The compressors were humming when my badge hit the reader and flashed red. I tried again slower, like speed was the problem. The corridor lights stayed flat and sickly. The cooler panel down the hall still glowed green, 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Everything the building cared about was stable. The reader answered the same way. Access denied. I held my jaw tight once and let it go. Then I did the next practical thing. I pulled out my phone and opened the employee portal. When a door says no, you ask the system why. My profile loaded with a gray banner stretched across the top. Status terminated. Below it, smaller like a footnote meant for auditors. Reason deceased. I read the word until it stopped being language. People can disappear in a morgue without leaving a stain. I had already seen that. I just never thought it could include someone breathing. I walked to the public entrance because the public entrance still accepts bodies. The receptionist looked up, registered my face, then looked back down. She did not ask if I was all right. She asked for my badge number. I gave it to her. She typed. The screen reflected in her glasses for a second. Then she slid a visitor sticker across the counter. County policy, she said. You can't be back there. I did not argue. I wrote my name on the sticker. The ink looked too normal. The compressors kept humming behind the locked doors. In the parking lot, I opened my bank app. My checking account showed a new icon beside the balance. Frozen. I refreshed twice. Same icon. Then a notification stacked on top of it. Life insurance provider. Subject line already decided. Claim approved. Payout sent to beneficiary. I wasn't dead. But the system thought I was. People who work near the dead share an identity they don't apply for. We live inside forms other people never read. I called the number on the insurance message. A recorded voice told me my call mattered, then asked for my social security number. I entered it because numbers are how you prove existence. The line went quiet for 2 seconds. According to our records, the voice said the insured is deceased. I hung up before it offered condolences. Back at my apartment, I checked the locks again. Deadbolt engaged, chain latched, window latches painted shut since the early 90s. Nobody forced entry. They didn't break in. They entered. Like they had a key. Like they owned the place. I opened my refrigerator. The shelves were still alphabetized. Apples, butter, cheese, eggs, greens, milk, yogurt. It wasn't a threat. It was a signature. I sat at the table and opened my laptop. I searched my name in the state case lookup tool used for inspections and licensing actions. Public systems feel safer. My name appeared once. Case status closed. No violations found. The case title wasn't about the morgue. It was about me. Death registration review. The complainant field was blank. The timestamp was yesterday afternoon. No one believes us when we say you can be processed like an error. They want a villain. There doesn't have to be one. There just has to be a workflow. I went to the county building the next morning because that's where paperwork lives. The receptionist there wore the same tired smile and asked for identification. I slid my license across the counter. She typed my name and paused. You need vital records, she said, routine as directions. Vital records sits behind glass and bulletproof laminate. The clerk asked me to confirm my date of birth. I did. She turned the monitor so I could see it. Status deceased. Date of death last Tuesday. Cause pending investigation. Last Tuesday I had eaten lunch with my sister. I remembered the smell of fries. The clerk offered a pamphlet about grieving services because the script told her to. I folded it without reading. My nose started bleeding, not dramatic. A slow, clean drip that dotted the pamphlet. I pinched the bridge and waited. It didn't stop until I left the building. The preservation doesn't start after death. It starts while the heart is beating. I drove back toward the morgue anyway. Outside, I was already processed, filed, closed. Inside, at least the schedule still had my name. even if it was under drawer 9. I parked 2 blocks away and walked. Plates have records. Survival is mostly posture. At the service entrance, I waited for a transport crew. They had a gurney and a disaster pouch. One of them held the door without thinking. People are trained to help. That's how systems pass through us. Inside, I walked like I belonged, even pace. No wandering eyes. The compressors hummed. The lights buzzed faintly. The supply closet code still worked. The building hadn't fired me. The database had. In the closet, I opened my locker. Behind my spare scrubs was a county consent form folded in thirds, dated 3 weeks ago. Signature mine. It authorized routine blood work and tissue compatibility testing during mandatory screening. I remembered signing for blood work. I did not remember compatibility. There was a bruise on my inner arm where the needle goes. Purple-green. Healing on schedule. The compressors kept time through the wall. I rinsed my face in the break room sink and checked the scratched mirror. I looked normal. Systems don't need you sick. They need your file complete. I made the call I had delayed. State Health Department intake. I gave the case number from the website. The woman sounded tired but efficient. "We take this very seriously," she said. She scheduled an on-site inspection within 72 hours. She told me to preserve evidence. She told me not to interfere with operations. I thanked her because that's how you sound sane. For 2 days I waited for confirmation. I checked hourly. Nothing arrived. On the 3rd day, I watched the parking lot from the shadowed end of the hallway. An unmarked state car pulled in. A man in a blazer stepped out with a clipboard. He met my supervisor at the desk. I watched the inspection from the crack in the supply closet door. They started with temperature logs. Perfect. 15-minute intervals, no gaps. 37 degrees Fahrenheit every line. Intake records next. Spotless. Chain of custody after that. Flawless. Seals matched. Releases complete. "This is the best run facility I've seen in 15 years, the inspector said. My supervisor smiled for auditors. Then he shifted, and I saw what he held behind the inspector's shoulder. My clipboard. My pen. The bent clip gave it away. If I spoke, I would be accused of falsifying records. My breath hitched once. I swallowed it. Learned silence isn't a choice here. It's policy. That night, my email updated. The case closed before I could open it. Investigation closed. No violations found. My voicemail showed a missed call. The audio file did not exist. I checked the USB from before. The label still read temperature logs, October. Inside the drive was a single file. Error log user, deceased, Xed. I did not open it. I sat in my car until my nose bled again, slow and clean onto the wheel. I wiped it with a paper towel. I went back inside because there was nowhere else I existed. In the cooler corridor, drawer 4 looked normal. It always did. The tape still waited on the lip. Unit 7 ready. The compressors hummed. The green light stayed green. At the desk, I logged in as a guest. Guests can see schedules. Guests can't change them. Drawer 4, empty. Drawer 9, reserved. Scheduled arrival next Tuesday. Asset identification number matched my badge code. People who work near the dead expect one thing to be true. Bodies arrive after paperwork? Not before. That expectation was gone. I still work in the city morgue. I have to. Outside, I'm legally dead. Inside, I'm pending. Drawer 4 is empty now. Drawer 9 is reserved. I'm not waiting to die. I'm waiting to be delivered. If you've ever worked inside a system that can erase people without raising an alarm, you already know why stories like this don't end. If this felt uncomfortably familiar, leave a comment, not a theory. Just, what part felt real to you? If you want the next file when it opens, you know what to do. At what point do you think the narrator stopped being a worker and became inventory drawer 4, the health screening, or the moment the system marked him deceased before anything happened? If this report stayed with you longer than it should have, mark it as received. This isn't the only file like this. If you want the next one before it's reclassified, stay close. If you know someone who works night shifts, hospitals, facilities, or places where paperwork matters more than faces, send this to them. They'll understand.